Hey everyone, it's Melinda with Tailored and Teal, and welcome back to another What Sold video. These are sales on Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay from July 1st through July 15th of 2024. Well, I am happy to report that these 2 weeks were a lot better than the last 2 weeks of June. I had some higher dollar sales, which I wasn't really expecting. So let's jump into it. I did have one sale on Mercari. It was a multi-strand layered acrylic and shell beaded necklace. This came out of one of my many jewelry unboxings and it sold for $10. And that was an offer the customer gave to me. There are no fees on Mercari anymore, at least for the sellers. The buyers are responsible for all of the fees. So I made $10. Moving on to Poshmark, where I had 7 sales. The first sale was a LuLaRoe Amelia Nightmare Before Christmas Jack Skellington print dress. Now, I do still pick up LuLaRoe, but it has to be like the perfect item and print that I know will sell, or a very popular style that still sells well for LuLaRoe. Their dusters seem to still do pretty good, but for me personally, the leggings and the shirts do not move, even new with tags. I picked this up at a local consignment store. I did pay up a little bit more than what I'm used to, but it was still reasonable. I spent around $6 on this item and it sold for $31 with no discounted shipping. Next up is a bundle of 3 items. I normally don't get bundles more than 2 items, so 3 items was kind of exciting, to be honest with you. So first it was a vintage Bearco clay mask trinket box. This was like a masquerade type trinket box. This was actually my own personal item from childhood. It did have a few small condition issues, so it wasn't listed for very much. Then next in the bundle was a 3+ pound lot of vintage pop beads. These were my mom's. She used to collect them. They don't really have that much value anymore unless you have like a super rare one. But if you sell them in a lot, they typically do better than just individual pieces. And then an express neon green sweater that came from a mystery box from a random company that I found online that I do not recommend. And all 3 of those items sold in a lot for $50. That was an offer that the customer sent to me. I did have to upgrade my shipping because it was like 5.8 ounces. So I had to round up to 6 pounds, which that was an additional $4.50 out of my cut. And 2 of the 3 items were free to me. So I made a decent profit on that bundle. Next up is a beautiful, beautiful dress from Adriana Papel. I saw this in the thrift store. It was a Salvation Army. I remember they just rolled out brand new racks and I saw sequins and I was intrigued. And then I saw the brand, Adriana Papel. I don't have the best track record with her dresses, but I just thought this one was beautiful. There was nothing wrong with it. Like, I think it might have gotten worn once or maybe not even at all because there was no signs of wear. It was a champagne sequin colored cap sleeve sheath dress. It was a bigger size, I think either a 16 or 18W. And I did pay full price for this at $9.99. It had so many watchers, so many likes. I knew it was just a matter of time until someone sent me an offer, and finally they did for $45. I accepted and I made over a $26 profit. So excellent find, excellent sale. It did take a little bit longer for it to sell than what I originally thought it would, but I did source it in November of 2023. And, you know, short sleeves and a shorter dress doesn't really go well in the winter. So I figured it would have to wait until the spring or summer to sell. Next up is a snap front blouse by the brand Jack's Girlfriend. It had a blue plaid print to it and it sold for $13 with no discounted shipping. Next up is another Adriana Papel item, but this is not a dress. This is an off-white eyelet elastic hem sleeveless blouse. This came out of my America's Thrift Supply micro bale and it sold for $10 with no discounted shipping. Next up, we have a silver tone crisscross X clear round rhinestone ring. This came out of my Shop Goodwill ring unboxing, and it sold for $9 with discounted shipping. And then the last item was pretty exciting because I hadn't had any sales in like 2 to 3 days on Poshmark, so I was, itching for a good one. It was an Everlane black, the Twill Weekender duffel travel bag. I also used the keyword luggage for that. This had some small condition issues, but not on the inside. It was more like rubbing on the twill to the outside, but like no rips, no tears, no nothing. This was the thrift find of the day when I went sourcing in January of this year. It was a white tag, which white tag that day was $1.49. So I spent $1.49 on this beautiful bag, and it sold for $45, which was my full asking price. So of my 7 Poshmark sales, I made a total of $203 in sales. There was $43.05 in fees. The shipping discount, I also included the extra pound that I had to pay for that big bundle. So that came in at $6.52, giving me a profit of $153.43. And my average sales price for each item that sold was $29. Pretty good. Moving on to eBay, where I had 18 sales. The first was a vintage lot of 7 children's educational reading books. These were all hardcovers. They were all in fun colors like yellow and green and orange. The customer and I went back and forth on a price. I had them listed at $19.99 or $17.99 or something, and I kept getting under $10 offers from this person. And they didn't send it just on one day. This was multiple days of going back and forth. These were free to me items, so I just decided to accept their offer, and they sold for $9.93, and they did go via media mail. Next up is another vintage item. This one was also free to me. It was a vintage 1972 Fisher-Price red Happy Apple musical chime toy or rattle. And I did use a keyword roly-poly because when you moved it like this, it made that chime noise, and the chime did still work. This was my baby toy, but also was somebody else's baby toy because it was made in 1972, so it was probably passed down to me, and it sold for $18.69. Next up is a Cavu blue striped elastic empire waist twisted strap high-low dress. This was 100% rayon. It was a size extra, extra small. I sourced this on ThredUp, and it was listed in their assorted brands category, and it sold for $12. Next up is an item that I had gotten out of inventory to try to fix the flaws that were on there, but I never got around to it. So it sold as is. It was a Talbot's orange and white striped 100% Tencel lightweight tank top. It was a size 8. I did notate that there were flaws. There were some like grease stains on the front, and there was one area where like the fabric was kind of pulling and almost made a hole. I was planning on just trying to get out the stains, but this is one of the oldest items that I have in my inventory. So when someone sent me a $5 offer, I let it go. I did lose money on this. I lost $1.39, but I'm happy that it's gone. I'm happy that I didn't have to stain treat it, and hopefully they can get some use out of it. Next up is a new with tags, Adrian Vittadini purple and gray floral slip or nightie. It was a size 3X, but it was definitely a little bit smaller than what I think a 3X should have measured at. It was super stretchy though. I did notate that in the listing, and it sold for $12.25. Next up is another free to me item from my mom. It was a vintage 1960s in appreciation ivory color and gold double photo holder book. This I honestly didn't think would sell. I didn't put it up for much. I think I put it up for $9.99 because I couldn't really find any sold comparable listings. And someone purchased it outright at $8.49, which was my full asking price with a 15% off sale. And it actually went to a repeat buyer. So you never know if it's going to sell unless you list it. Next up is a vintage Sarah Coventry stamped bright silver tone large swirl brooch. This was a free to me item as well, and it sold for $8.49. Next up is an item that was in my jewelry crafting pile that I was just eventually going to lot together and sell to someone to do like crafting or jewelry making or whatever. But I pulled it out one day because it was actually in really good condition and I thought it was very cute. I love the color. So I listed it. It was a dainty emerald green Millefiori satellite beaded gold tone chain necklace, and it sold for $8.50, which I think is pretty good considering I was just willing to give it away for essentially scrap. Next up is another free to me item. This was actually one of my baby items that never got used. It just kind of got thrown in a box for, well, I'm going to be 40 this year. So it was thrown in a box for 39 years. And it was a vintage WMF Chromargan, I think that's how you say it, stainless steel teddy bear baby cutlery set. It had a spoon, it had a fork, and it had a pusher. It didn't have a knife because babies can't use knives, but it was like this little almost spatula or like garden rake looking thing, and you just push your food around on the plate, I guess. I couldn't find any exact comps, so I just put up a price and it sold for $16.99, which was my full asking price with my 15% off sale that I'm running. Next up is another Millefiori item to sell. This was a black Millefiori floral glass handcrafted dome ring. It was a size 7.75. It came out of my Shop Goodwill ring unboxing and it sold for $7.25. Next up is an Athleta dark gray Sarah bra cup holder bikini swim top. It was a size 38B/C. It did have underwire and padding. It was in excellent condition. I picked this up at my Salvation Army and it sold for $14.50. Next up is a pair of Old Navy khaki tan everyday shorts. These were mid-rise. They had a longer inseam and they were a size 4 and they sold for $8.50. I think this came out of a ThredUp rescue box or maybe even a Cozy Threads, which is now Helpsy Source, shorts box. I can't remember, but I've had them since January of 2022 and they finally sold. Next up is another free to me item. This was my personal item when I was a kid. It was a vintage lot of 300 Barbie trading cards. These were made in 1990. They were by the brand Mattel, and they were the first edition. I actually had 2 separate sets of these. I'm not sure how I acquired both, but I sold the first set on Mercari when I first started reselling, probably for about the same amount. And this set sold for $25.49, and it sold within a few weeks of me listing it. Next up is a pair of shorts by Gloria Vanderbilt. These were the Amanda Bermuda. They had splits on the sides of the legs and they were a size 14. These were also a free to me item. They were my mom's. And I actually listed 4 Gloria Vanderbilt Bermuda shorts all within the same like 2 or 3 days. And 3 out of the 4 of them sold this past weekend. As you will see, this brand does not sell for a ton, but anytime I list the Bermuda shorts, they sell within a few weeks of me listing them. So this particular pair sold for $8. Then we have a Chaps Muted Colors Plaid Long Line Button Front Gauzy Sleeveless Blouse. It was a size medium. It came out of my America's Thrift Supply micro bale of blouses and it sold for $7. And then here come the other 2 shorts. They were purchased by the same person. So they were both Bermuda shorts. They were both Gloria Vanderbilt. One was a light wash and another one was a like darker wash with rolled cuffs. And they sold together for $22.93. The customer did pay for these separately, including shipping, but since I was able to put them together in the same bag, I did refund the customer $5 in shipping. So overall, I made a profit of $19.76 on free to me items. Next up is a Life is Good solid black Good Tech sleeveless exercise tank top. This had a little karma sign on it. I did source this from ThredUp's outlet center. They had it in their assorted brands list, but I knew what it was right away. Unfortunately, when it got to me, there was like this weird stain on the front. I don't know if it was a stain or if it was just discoloration. I tried to stain treat it. it didn't really budge, so I just listed it as is, and I accepted an offer of $8. I only made 79 cents on this item, but I didn't lose any money, so I was happy to see it go. And then the last item is another free to me item, but this actually came from a mystery box of some sort. I think it was a ThredUp mystery box, but I ended up keeping them for myself for a while, so I never put them as an item into my inventory, so I am accepting them as a free to me item. The brand was Endero, and it was a camouflage soft velour jogger elastic waist lounge pants. They were a size large/extra large, and they sold for $8.75. So of my 18 eBay sales, I had $210.76 in sales. I made a shipping profit of $40.26. Fees were $65.50, giving me a profit of $185.52. And my average sales price for each item that sold was $11.71. So now moving on to my total numbers from July 1st through July 15th of 2024. I had a total of 26 sales. I made $423.76 in sales. Fees were $74.81. Cost of goods was $61.01, giving me a profit of $287.94. And my average cost of goods for each item that sold was $2.35. And that concludes this What Sold video. I hope your sales are going well. Soon they're going to start picking up for back to school because August is right around the corner, and I know a lot of schools start at the middle or end of August, so make sure you're getting those back to school items listed: backpacks, school supplies, clothing, shoes, etc. And I hope you all are having a wonderful summer. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye!